All right. What's up, guys? Welcome back to That's the Angle. And today I'm joined with Davin Gentry. What's up, dude?
Going on, boss? Gentry, just for the people out there.
Damn it. I am 2 for 2 for saying your name wrong whenever I introduce you.
What was it last time? What did you say last time?
Dude, on our first interview, I said David, and it was so funny because I was trying so hard to not mess that up in my subconscious, like let it slip, and I said it. Now I just fucked up your last name. Whatever, dude. It's all good. I'll mess up your middle name next time.
Yeah.
But just real quick.
I don't know if you can mess up Keith.
Yeah, that's true. Real quick, could you introduce yourself in case people don't know you?
Sure. I'm Davin Gentry from Madisonville, Kentucky. I live in Los Angeles and also in Northern Virginia. I kind of bounce back and forth right now. So I'm a fashion designer, creative, I guess, consultant. Really just a creative in general.
Yeah.
Oh, and I have a brand, Diet Starts Monday, and then I also freelance design for a couple other brands.
I love how you just kind of forgot that you had a really big brand called Diet Starts Monday.
Yeah, I did. Well, I mean, I kind of just like assumed that people that are watching, at least if I send it out, the people know me, but obviously you have different audience than I have. So
yeah, that's how I always kind of figure. It's like someone on my YouTube channel will come see us and they'll be like, who's this guy? Diet Starts Monday. And just let you introduce yourself. I'll give a little context. And by the way, I interviewed Davin, I think it was like 2 years ago, man.
Yeah, it was it 2?
Yeah, I think it was 2. And so if you're interested in his like backstory, how he came up, the grind, all that fun superhero story stuff, you can check out the interview on the YouTube channel or the podcast. But today, we're just having fun and talking, my friend.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, dude. So what's up, dude? You're in VA right now? You're not in LA?
Yeah, I'm in VA. I came out. I actually came back to do a podcast. We were going to do it like the end of March or April, beginning of April. I can't remember. But I came back to do that, and I really just stayed here to quarantine out here with the fam.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I bounce back and forth. Like I said, I come back every few weeks to begin with. So I kind of just had it timed out to where I knew that I would be flying back the same time I would be scheduled to do your podcast. But yeah, I mean, I really didn't expect this to kind of, I guess, last this long or be this, I don't know, just be this such an intense lockdown for this long.
Dude, I know, man. It's kind of insane how long it is. I think we're going on like 3 months. Like I've pushed back my art exhibition like twice already. Like everything. I don't even know when to plan anything anymore.
Yeah, that's the same. I was supposed to go to Miami just for like some spring break stuff. That was the beginning of April, and that got canceled. And then obviously all the business stuff is just kind of like just been up in the air. Like we have a few big projects that they were supposed to launch around June, July, and those are probably looking at like early 2021 now at this point. So it's just crazy. I mean, especially when you're doing like that's a Puma collab. And so when you're doing projects with these huge corporations, like their production schedule is just such a different process that like one little hiccup causes a 3-month delay. And so this is obviously not a little hiccup. This is the big one. So we're pushed back to the next 2 quarters. So it's definitely been like, been, I don't know, weird to adjust to.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like a hiccup that you don't know when it's going to stop. Like we can't definitively say, yeah, in July it's all over, in June it's all over, and then worry about like public perception. But with Puma, can you talk about what you're doing with them? I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, so I have it's a Diet Starts Monday collab. We have a couple, I think there's 2 shoes, a full clothing capsule, and then like a travel capsule. So like the whole thing is based around travel. Like the shoes are they're sneakers, but they're like comfortable, like sneakers that you would definitely want to put on to wear on the plane or whatever. The clothing is all kind of travel inspired, and then obviously the luggage. The luggage was like the most important component to the project. And there were a couple of times where the luggage was like, they were wanting to possibly scrap it just because of how long it would take to make it. And that was really just like the main thing. I was like, this is like, if nothing else gets made, like the luggage is what makes this whole thing make sense. So luckily it all kind of like, I ended up getting to make probably like 75% of what I wanted to make. But that's just kind of like the give and take of these partnerships. Is you go in wanting to make X, Y, and Z, they come in wanting to make A, B, C, and then you meet in the middle at whatever the middle of the alphabet is. But
it starts with them being like, we want your sauce on this project, kind of like breathe some of your cool Diet Starts Monday swag into this project. What was it about the luggage that
do like? Well, they do like, they call them like energy projects that bring new energy into the brand. What were you saying about the luggage?
I was just saying, like, what is about the luggage that you love so much? That seems like such like an obscure thing.
I mean, it's kind of just I guess like a selfish desire, but everything that I use, like it's almost on a daily basis because I travel so much before this quarantine, but everything that I use, I want to make my own version of it if I can. If I feel like that there's something new I can bring to it. If there's a lot of stuff where I would love to make, but if I can't do it better than the people who are already doing it or bring something fresh to it, then I just leave it alone. But luggage, I just felt like that was something that I wanted to take a stab at. And it's actually an idea that I was pursuing before Puma, but I just didn't really have the resources to pull it off. Just because luggage is just like a different, like you got to pay for molds and the minimums are crazy and all of this stuff.
Oh, yeah, they got the resources.
Yeah, for sure. And then as soon as the Puma conversation started, like, and then they told me that they have an accessories company that they acquired that manufactures luggage and travel accessories and stuff. So it kind of just made sense.
Did you put a smell-proof compartment in the luggage? Because I feel like whenever I'm traveling, like shipping my weed's always my biggest fear.
No, I actually didn't, because I don't have those problems. But
hey, it's not a problem.
I mean, not a problem, but that's
I get what you mean, like a problem for transporting it.
Right, exactly. Not like a problem like you have a problem. Like
yeah. That's sick. I mean, that's got to be a huge benefit of like partnering with a big company like that, because they kind of get they get to add their sauce to their energy. What is it, an energy collection you said?
Yeah, each brand calls it something different. Nike calls it energy. Puma, people have referred to it as energy, but yeah, it's basically just exactly what you're saying. We want to, so basically there's a new shoe that was set to launch around back to school. So around July, August, and they wanted us to come in and drive energy towards that silhouette. So they basically say, like, here's the silhouette. What would you want to do to it? And so then I put my sauce on it, and then we hope that it drives energy towards it. The same way we did with the sandal. Like that was a sandal that we did with a company from Brazil that didn't have energy in the US. And so we put our spin on it and created that buzz around the brand. So it can be mutually beneficial for both sides. It's just, you gotta, sometimes it's tough. Like sometimes
You
it's
mean
really,
you mean
it's
that
really
that that
one-sided.
sandal you did that kind of had like the yellow strap that you did a couple
Right.
years ago?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So that was a company that's from Brazil, and
Sandals were dope.
yeah, those were honestly, like, I've been reaching out to them trying to pursue part 2 of that collab, but a lot of the people that we worked with on that project have since gone on to different companies, and it hasn't really led anywhere. But I mean, that's like, sandal is like a flip flop, a slide, a sandal, like whatever you want to call it. But that's a summer staple. And obviously this was kind of like a more premium version of that. But
Dude, I would die for a dope sandal right now. Dude, I'm wearing these like weird busted beach sandals. I feel like an inside like shoe would be so sick right now. Like an inside sort of sandal or something like that.
This isn't any type of plug because I don't have any affiliation with them, but I got these Uggs they're like, I mean, they're house shoes, but they kind of have like a sandal vibe, but they have another version that is like open toed, and I think it might have the same material, but I've been eyeing those since I can't make part 2 of my sandal collection happen yet. I've been eyeing these Uggs, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. If it's one of those things, like, people ask us all the time for those sandals. So if this company doesn't like play ball, then I'm just going to end up making my own version a little bit better than how they did it. So I would like to do it with them, but it's only so long you can knock at the door before you walk away.
Yeah, right. It's like, Jesus, guys, like, I don't need you for this, but it'd be dope. Here, I wanted to try something that is a feature of being. Check this out. Boom! Here's the sandal.
Yeah, boom.
That's so sick.
Actually, the crazy thing is too, I had to order a pair of them.
I ordered your own sandal.
Yeah, I ordered my own sandal like a couple weeks ago because I just wanted another pair. I have like 3 pair, but especially being bi-coastal, like, I need to have as many as possible because I might take them here, forget them there, whatever. So, but yeah, I had to order a product that I created.
Do you put in like the order notes? I created these motherfuckers. Just send them to me.
Well, actually, I didn't, because I didn't want to like be like rude, but I ordered them and then I hit the people up like, hey, I ordered these. Could you send some other stuff with it? And they didn't even respond. So I don't know. I guess the relationships just come to an end. So
here, how about these? Can we talk about these real quick?
Yeah, we're actually about to restock those.
Dude, these shoes, I love these shoes so much. I think last time I had you on, you hinted at your DC collab and you couldn't really talk much about it, but you came back to DC. And I don't remember if your show in March was for these or what it was, but dude, these shoes are so sick. Like, I love yellow because one is my favorite color, but then like the clear bottom sole and then the gel like window, but then the pill accent on the bottom was just so sick to me. Like, what was your thought when you were like designing these bad boys?
It's crazy because I think we started working on this project, like, I know it was at least 2018, like the summer of 2018. And so when I did the podcast with you, I'm sure that these had already been like we had already sampled and probably gone into production. And it's just, like I said about Puma, like when you work with these corporations, sometimes it just takes so long to move things along. But I mean, obviously, like designing it, I knew that we wanted it to be yellow, but just because yellow was just our color. And then I knew that I love to like overlap things. And so when they kind of showed me how the shoe is constructed, I'm like, okay, cool. Well, we should put the globe underneath these two panels. And then I love like antique off-white, like cream, because I love that on shoes just because it shows age. So I wanted to kind of like, I actually wanted the soles to be a little bit more like cream than they came out, but they still came out dope. And then I think the once they told us that we could do a translucent sole,
dude, that's my favorite part of these things.
Like, can we add some type of print underneath? And the craziest part about it is the sole, you can barely see it, but the bottom of the sole, that it has like a pill texture in the shoe. And that wasn't anything that we created. Like you can kind of see that they run, I guess, horizontally across the sole, but it's basically like these lines of pills that whoever like designed this.
Oh, I see. It's not the colored ones. It's the ones that kind of like are in a strict formation going.
Exactly. So that's the that's just the mold of the sole that they created whenever they created this silhouette. I forget when this shoe was actually designed, but and that was something that I didn't even notice until like, I don't know, like a year into working on the project. So that was like a passion project for me, because I mean, nobody else on our team other than Tyler used to skate. But me and Tyler both kind of grew up skating. So it was some people that we knew who used to work at ASICS, and they had been supporters of Premium, my old brand. They had been supporters of that, and then they left ASICS and went to another brand. And when they went to that brand, we were working on a collaboration with them. And then they left that brand and came to DC, and we kind of like picked back up and just started working on that shoe with them. And so that was kind of like, I mean, realistically, it was like a collab that was like 4 years, and it probably was 4 years before we actually got something on the books. But I mean, good things come to those who wait, and we were excited about it. And we just got another shipment in of those. So right before the somewhere event. So the somewhere event was to restock those, and then we were going to restock the site with them afterwards. But then once this pandemic hit, we honestly just kind of shut down for a second, just to kind of like analyze and assess the situation. And we just had our first drop since this has happened. We just had it Monday. So we took like 2 months off from releasing any product or anything. So
dude, that somewhere event was so sick. Like I was actually low-key blown away by how many people came out, and not just any people. It was like all the people in DC with that real clout. You know what I'm saying? Like everyone who's actually doing shit. Like the amount of support was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I was honestly surprised too. You never like, you hope that there's a line when you walk up and stuff like that. But you can never expect it, just because as soon as you expect it, it's going to be nobody at the door. But I had a Patron brunch that morning. And then from there, we walked over to somewhere. And as we were at brunch, people were texting me like, you got a few people out here. So I'm thinking like a few people, like there's a few people, like there's probably 5-10 people, but then
waiting in line.
But then I walked up and it was, I don't know, it's probably like 100 people waiting.
God damn.
I was like, I mean, I think we haven't done anything in DC since we shut down the spot on 14th. And so it was really like the first time that a lot of those people who shopped at Diet, the retail space, they didn't really shop online. They only shopped in store. And so I think that was like exciting for them, even though they can just go online and buy the stuff when we release. But a lot of people just love that in-person purchase. So I think there was a lot of excitement for that.
Dude, it was crazy. I remember I showed up and I was like, dude, where is all the shit? You're like, dude, it's gone, man. It's just straight up gone.
Yeah, I mean, and that's another thing. Is like, you don't know how much to produce because you don't know how many people are going to come. And then since we always try to do something exclusive to that time or that space or whatever. And so we're like doing collaborative shirts with somewhere that say their name on it or the date and stuff like that. And when you put a timestamp on those products, sometimes it's hard to move them later on. Like if, say we made 1,000 shirts and only 200 people came and we have 800 shirts left, to say somewhere, like, it's not guaranteed that our customer is going to want a shirt with somewhere on it if they don't know about the store and stuff like that. But
I think it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool to have that kind of relic stuff, especially someone like yourself who's like, you're not going to stop making stuff anytime soon. So it's like, even if you had it left over, it's kind of sweet to have this like weird dead stock or like the relics of something that happened. Because I feel like for someone like you at this point, the fact that you think that someone isn't going, that people aren't going to come or that like you're not going to sell out is kind of funny to me. Like you casually talk about your Puma collab and your Patron shit. And it's just like, Davin, do you realize like, bro, people are going to come, man. Like people are going to.
Well, no, yeah, but it's also just like, I think that I'm also just I don't know. It's not a cocky or humble argument. It's, I think, just cautious. Like I'm cautious with how we spend. Because there's been a lot of times where I've over purchased for things. Like I remember putting like $30,000 into product for a pop-up that we did at Union Market. This was for premium in 2016, and the overall project to do that event was probably like $60,000 production for renting the space and security and caterers and all of this stuff. So $60,000. And I think, I don't know if I mentioned this on the last podcast, but we had a blizzard in DC where we got like 38 inches of snow or 36 inches of snow in the middle of me spending $60,000 on this production. And so we ended up,
did talk about that. Yeah.
We ended up making like $10K back at the event. And so since then, it's like, I'm kind of scarred to where I'm just ultra cautious. And a lot of the times I probably shoot Diet in the foot because I'm leaving a lot of money on the table, but I'm just super cautious to where I don't want to be like stuck with a lot of excess stuff, which, like you said, like, yeah, you can always sell it later or have a sale and try to like break even or whatever. But I'm just kind of to the point where like I have an understanding of how much to produce that's just enough. It might be just too little to where it just sells out and some people leave unhappy.
It's tight, though.
It is, but there's also, since our product is kind of sometimes hard to get online. And so whenever somebody like strikes out so many times on a product, eventually they're going to give up if they can't get it. So you have to toe that line of like really keeping it exclusive, but then satisfying the people just enough. It's a tough tug of war.
Yeah. I mean, I can see like a scarcity in these days. I feel like with especially like streetwear culture, it's like what makes your brand more hype or more lit because you don't have it. But then at the same time, like I really wish I had a Diet Starts Monday shirt because I would be wearing it right now. Like 100%.
Right.
Like I
Right.
look at your shirts and I'm like, dude, I already know that's going to be my favorite shirt. But
Yeah, you actually
know,
you comment a lot like, man, the wash on this is so perfect, or whatever the case may be. I gotta
dude,
get you I gotta get you some stuff.
you opened up my eyes on that, dude. On that first podcast when I asked you about it, you like really broke it down, talking about like how much work you put into like not just doing something easy like having like a blank tee and putting a graphic on it, but like putting that time to make sure that like it's like the perfect fade of black, or that it's like perfectly worn, or those like little details that. And since you told me that, it just kind of like blew my mind open to now where I look at other people's streetwear and other people's shirts and I'm like, you could have done more, bro. You slacking.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, and that's I'm like the opposite end of that spectrum, where there's brands who are brands that sell t-shirts for $200-$300, and they're putting the same amount of work and cost into their shirts as what I am, but then we're selling ours for 72. I'm one of those people who, like, regardless of how much we're going to sell it for, like, I want to make it the best version of that I can, which isn't always the best, like, for the business. Like if we're selling for 72, we should really be having a shirt that costs, I don't know, $16 or something like that. But
damn.
really less than 16. But our shirts are costing us double that. So, but it's because like I remember when I first got into fashion, like, I don't know, high school days, and buying a shirt from a brand or whatever, and then washing it, and you might get like a couple more wears out of it, but by the time like you've washed it 4 or 5 times, it's either like super thin or it shrunk too much or whatever.
Man,
and so I'm like, if we're gonna sell at this price point, like it needs to be something that's gonna last. And it's one of the biggest like, we've had internal conversations with the brand where people are, some people on one side of the argument are, why don't we just get a blank and sell it? Like, we would sell it, we could lower the price, we would sell more units. And I'm like, yeah, but we can do this with our cut and sew tees as well. It's just, so I mean, there's a couple of us, but I've been one of the main advocates who really preach, like, I don't want to go the blank route. I want to make the product as best as I can, because it's those conversations where people come up to me at an event and they're like, your shirts fit me better than any shirt I have. Like, I've had this shirt for 3 years, and right. And so I think that's part of the reasoning behind it too, is like, that's the reward for that extra oomph that we put into it. Like, that's the payback, is those people coming up and appreciating it and saying like, man, this wash was perfect. Like, when I washed it, it didn't shrink. Like, the fade is amazing. Like, the print looks like it came from the 90s. Like, I work really hard to try to recreate that vintage look and feel, because that's where I grew up. Like, those are the shirts that I saw. Like,
those are the best shirts to wear. Like, a nice vintage black tee that just fits so nice. And dude, you're like the master of the vintage black wash. It's like, it's the best feeling, dude. I spent like, I got so baked the other night, and I spent like 2 hours on YouTube looking up how to make a shirt look vintage. And it was like some crazy processes. Like, it was like, put it in bleach, then put it in fabric softener, and then wash it, and then put it in something else. Like, I was like, God dang it. Like, I don't want to do this myself. But is there, I was like, thank you, Dad, for doing it for me. But why, maybe I missed it, but why don't you just like double the price? Like, is there a reason why you want to keep it at 75 as opposed to making it like 150 and making it 300? Or,
I mean, I think that, like, when we first started Diet, that we were going to sell our shirts at, I think, 180. And whenever we opened up the restaurant and we had the clothing section in there, like clothing and upscale fashion, the type of, I mean, a restaurant and upscale fashion, the way we had the food just didn't go together. Like we were selling kind of like fast casual, like $16 burgers and fries and fish and chips and like wings and stuff like that. And that just didn't pair well with a $180 t-shirt or a $400 hoodie or whatever. So we decided to scale back. And at the same time, we were actually going to go into retailers. Like we were going to have a wholesale system where we sold to retailers worldwide. And obviously when you're selling to retailers, you have to mark your prices up to make room for wholesale.
Profit margin and stuff and everything.
Right. So like if a store sells their shirt for 100, they're getting it for at least 50 or less. Because that's kind of like standard. It's 50% off retail is your wholesale. But a lot of these stores that we would want to be in to be competitive, a lot of these brands are doing like, if they're retailing it at 100, instead of selling it to the store for 50, they're selling it to the store for 40 or 35 or whatever. And so if you're not kind of matching these margins for these stores, they don't, like, that's all they care about is the margin. So if you're not matching that, they don't really care to pick it up. So, but anyways, with us cutting the prices and just focusing on direct to consumer, we didn't have to worry about meeting a wholesale price or whatever. So we dropped the price down. And at first we toyed with like 60, but 60 at that time was just too little for the work that was going into it. We raised it up to like 68 and then 70 and then 72. And there's still some t-shirts that we sell for 80.
That's funny because like to most common people like myself, even like $70 for a shirt seems ridiculous. Like it seems ridiculous. I remember when I bought a shirt for $30, like when I was like 20, I was like, what the fuck? But now like that seems like nothing, but a $70 shirt, I'm like, what is this $70 shirt doing? And like the other month, Dior did a pop-up here in City Center and they had a shirt that didn't look like it had any kind of wash. It had just like a screen printed T-Rex with some colors and it was $300. I was like, what the fuck? Like, it's...
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of the same way. I remember when like just plain tees were the fashion statement. At first it was like the white tee. And this was before like the big 3X white tee, or not before, this after. Like after, when people would wear like the Foot Locker t-shirts that were 3 for $20. There were like, you would just get like the nice blank t-shirt from like H&M for like $9. And then that one didn't really fit me the way I like. So I moved up to like a $20 American Apparel t-shirt. And I remember being in Miami with some friends and buying like 3 of those t-shirts for $60 or whatever. And my friends were like, they thought I was literally insane.
Dude, I thought that shit was insane too, dude. I used to walk into the American Apparel store in Richmond and be like, who's paying $30 for a red t-shirt, a red V-neck?
Right. V-neck. That's funny.
Wear your V-neck shirts, Davin.
Man, I haven't seen a V-neck. We had a scoop neck that in like 2013 that it just didn't sit well with me.
Dude, yeah, V-necks died. I'm not gonna lie, I threw on a V-neck today and I felt gay. I know I shouldn't say that because it's like politically incorrect, but like there was a point in time where I felt like a stud in a V-neck. Now I feel like the kind of stud that likes other women. So I just don't rock them anymore.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, hey, I mean, dude, I don't know. I didn't even know they still made them, but I guess to each his own.
Dude, I pulled up that shirt. I screen shared it so people could kind of see the wash. Here, I'll pull it up again. Here, I'll pull it up again. Like you look at that shirt, And you already know that if you let a girl wear that shirt, you're never getting it back. Like you already know, you already know that you're not getting that shit back if it leaves your room or like anything like that. Like I don't know. It's super sick.
I had a friend text me last night who actually he had one of our shirts and he was out with a girl or something and she asked to wear it or she was at his house and she asked to wear it and then she wore it home. And then she flew. She didn't live here. She flew like back to California or something. And then she kept the shirt. And he was like, he was sick. He was asked because the shirt he had was actually like a one of one. Or I think I may have made two of them. And he texted me yesterday and was like, she finally sent that shirt back. And he was just so excited that it was on the way back. But
you know what I have to say about your friend?
What?
He's a simp. But yeah. Can we talk about the inspiration for your new line? And this is your new line, correct? Right?
Yeah, this is what released Monday.
Yeah, it's not all of it, but I brought up.
That is all of it.
Oh, this is all of it?
Yeah, that's
okay. Perfect.
We release in a lot of times we release in these small capsules because there's the same way I do want there to be like some exclusivity and not everybody can get everything, but I also don't want to overwhelm the consumer. So, because if we drop more than this, like there's a lot of people who will buy this whole kit. Like the way I have it laid out, it looks like it's just one shirt and that's the front and that's the back, but it's actually two different shirts. The one that has Feel the Power has a different image on the front, but it's just a small
that's
hit.
confusing. That's confusing. I thought it was a front and back.
No, it is, but it's because of logistics in this square space. It's too hard to kind of get three T's on there. So, but obviously when you come to the site, like if you're buying that Feel the Power t-shirt, you're buying it because of what's on the back anyway. So I just kind of simplified it. But also at the same time, this is like the last of the social media posts about this release. So before this, there was a slide that showed like, this is the front of the shirt, this is the back of the shirt. But
okay. Yeah, people could probably go to the website and see. Oh yeah, sorry. What were you getting at?
Well, I was just getting at the fact that like we try to keep it around like 2 to 3 tops and 2 bottoms, and then maybe like a couple accessories because we don't want to drop 10 t-shirts and then a customer get to the site and have to choose between 10 shirts. We'd rather them have to choose between 2 or 3 just to make, because especially since stuff is selling out in the first, like this drop sold out in like the first 7 minutes. So
what
a customer doesn't have that long to play around with what they want to get. So
dude, I don't mean to insult you. I know you're popping, but I didn't know you were that popping where it's like 7 minutes, dude. That's like crazy Supreme kind of shit.
I mean, it is, but Supreme's also selling out of like 20,000 units in 3 minutes. Like we're still like I said earlier, like I know what numbers to make, but I could have, I could have and should have went a little heavier on this release, but like a lot of our factories still aren't even open. So I haven't really been able to produce anything new. Luckily, I had 100 shorts at the factory waiting to be released.
Wow. I never thought about that. It's like, I kind of meant to ask you earlier, like how all of this was affecting you in like the fashion world, but I guess there it is. It's the factories that people can't go back to work because of the laws governing wherever they are.
Yeah, at first, like we thought that there's someone that told me, actually, like someone in the business had told me that by law, I guess the government of California can't tell people they can't go to work. But that obviously was not valid because every factory, and it was to the point to where like they're monitoring the factory. So like these larger, even the smaller factories, like if they're like running production and they get caught, like they get hit with a fine and all of this stuff. So, But at the same time, like I was saying, I wasn't really trying to. I was really just using these first 2 months to kind of like reset mentally, because when I was on the way back from that somewhere event, I was driving back to VA and was like having like a mild panic attack on the way home, just like anxiety and stress. And it's just like really, I was really juggling a lot between designing for the brand and production and the business side of that. And then Patron, and then trying to do this. I had the 2 events that day, and it was just a lot. And then I'm flying back and forth like every week or 2 weeks. So it was just a lot. So these last 2 months have really been me just kind of like sitting down and resting and focusing on my mental health, and really just not even putting a lot of mental stress on myself by thinking about like, all right, like, like we need to release this or we need to do that. Like I just took 2 months off, which again wasn't the best thing for the business, because people are at home the people are at home like wanting to spend money. There's stuff that I could have released, but I just wasn't in the mental space to even think about it. But I mean,
it really messes with you, because like when you have all these things planned, it's like you start to visualize them and you have all these expectations and like how they're going to go, and then to have it just be like ripped out from under you, and it's not even your fault. It's like something out of your control. It's the worst feeling. I mean, I can really only slightly, because my art shows and all that stuff like that, like looking at my calendar and seeing that, oh, I should have had this show today. I should have had that show starting yesterday. It's like the most sinking feeling. And even I feel you, man. For me, I was kind of like bummed. Like, what am I going to do about my podcast? Like, I can't even meet people anymore. Like, what am I going to do about all this stuff? Like, I was going to make money from that. It's like, it just really makes you kind of reflect and think like, what do I do now? I can't even set a date to bring this shit back.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same. Like I can design and run the show from anywhere, but like if our factory's closed, like even now, like I had like a meeting yesterday with a future partner that we're kind of like in the middle of some negotiations, but I had sent him, he's going to help out like with production moving forward. And I sent him like this folder of designs, and he was like, you easily have designs for like 8 collections right here. And so, I mean, 8 collections is like 2 years. And that was only one folder that I sent him. I still have another folder that I didn't. This is all the new stuff that I've designed like the past 4 months. So
wow.
I really just been backlogging all of this artwork. And so once everything does open up, I can just kind of like just hit the ground running. But yeah, I mean, it's affected the brand only because if we didn't have this time, like if I wasn't forced to sit down, I probably would have I would have still been trying to I don't know. I still would have been like pushing myself to the limit, which isn't good at all. Like I really should have taken that kind of like
you're saying in some way the break is inadvertently kind of good for you, or
no,
was
most definitely. Like if it wasn't for that, like I don't know what would have happened, because I've had like a couple of those like over the course of these last 10 years of doing this, like literally like 2 or 3 where it's just been so much on me that I've been like just like on the verge of like just like breaking.
You burn out, man. It's like we can only handle so much stress as humans. It's like we have to have or give ourselves space to like relax and take a chill pill. But it's so hard to do that when you're doing the thing you love, and it's like you kind of feel like you owe it to people, and people really want what you have to offer.
Well, the tough part about it too is as cliche as it is, and everybody says like it's not work when you're doing what you love, like creating and designing is truly like what I love to do. And so I'll literally, like, I could sit in front of the computer and design like all day. But that's the gift and the curse, because I can't cut it off and detach a lot of times. So, but this break has, since I haven't had to focus on the business side as much, I've been able to just really focus on designing. And whenever on if take the pandemic out of this, on a normal day-to-day basis, I'm not able to design this much. Like I'm having this call with Puma, or this call with this company, and this, like, Puma is just one of the projects that we have. We have another project and another project, and so on and so on. So my day kind of gets sucked up with just like calls and like meetings and random stuff that just takes you away from like what I really love to do, which is design. So,
it's like, in a way, it's like, it's nice. It's like you get to kind of just be that person who started it all. It's like just kind of relax and be with yourself.
No, for sure. Which I'm a lot of people have been hitting me like, yo, just checking in, making sure you're good. And I'm like, man, honestly, awesome. I'm probably one of the few who's like, well, I won't say one of the few, but I'm one of the ones who's definitely built for social distancing. Like even before, like at the somewhere event, like a lot of people were coming out like, man, I haven't seen you in so long. Like, you don't come out. And I'm like, I never, even when we had the restaurant, if I was in town, at first I was in there like every day. And then eventually it was too hard to be in there and focus on the brand and designing. So I pulled back from being in there. But I'm just not like, I don't need to be out at everything. Like I'm comfortable like just being at home, like designing or whatever. So,
dude, I feel you on that. When all the social distancing started, I was like, welcome to my life, people. Right. Like, you want to know what it's like to be me? Welcome to it. Like, now you know. You want to know what it's like to edit a video all day or to work on your website all day? It's like, here you go. You want to know what it's like to ignore your friends for a weekend? Here you go.
I will say that this doesn't have anything to do with pandemic, but out of everybody's like meme creation or just like sharing of memes, like when I see your story, I'm like getting the screen record ready, because like those things are gems. I send them off. I send them off rapid fire.
Your boy with the shitty humor, perfect curation. Actually, you make me feel bad because I actually didn't do it yesterday or Monday when I normally do. So I literally have so many memes sitting there, and I didn't do it just because I was like kind of in like a bad mood. Like yesterday, I was just in like a sour mood, like fuck everyone. Right. One of those moods where like you start to type something on your story, then you realize it's a bad idea to post that.
Yeah.
So I was just like, so I just wasn't in the mood to post the memes. But thank you, man. You know what? When we get off this call, I'm probably gonna post those memes.
Yeah, you got to. Those are, I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot of them that are just really funny. But that's another thing that like this pandemic has affected. It's like content is, you can tell that everybody's content has been affected. Right. You see like there's like a few like people that I watch their YouTube or whatever, and like their content is like, you can tell they're just around the house, like trying to do anything to muster up any type of thing that they can post. In mine, my content, like I probably posted 3 times since March. But
dude, same, dude.
Well, but actually, it's also because like I'm such a like, when I was posting content, it was like me like at a Patron event or me at the factory or like me working on this product and like stuff like that. And like I'm just sitting at home designing all day. So it's not, but I'm also not like forcing it. Like I'm not like forcing content, which
It's probably better. It's like you don't have to reach back into the depths. In a way, it's as a I would coin myself a content creator. In a way, I was like super bummed out at the beginning of all this because I kind of feel like if I can't provide content, it makes me feel bad because it's something that I really enjoy doing. And so the fact that I couldn't do the podcast, the fact that I can't go to these art shows and document them anymore, I was like kind of getting sad about it. But then I also had the realization, I was like, in a way, it's kind of my job to like step up and provide content for people now. Like people need it now more than ever. And it's true because my YouTube has never been so popping. Like I'm so happy about it. And I kind of realized that like the break gave me a way to step back and kind of look at my brand and what I'm doing. And now I'm coming at it differently in a way that I think is a lot more professional and it's more refined. And I've noticed that my YouTube subs have been reflecting that. And like, yeah, it's the content game. And I just, for me, this time to have nothing to do and to like a kind of audit what I've been doing, it put things into perspective, especially with the podcast. Right. And in a way, I kind of like the Zoom calls more.
Yeah. How does it feel like, how does it, like, what do you like more about this interaction? Just curious.
So it comes down to two things, right? And the two things I care about. And it's how do I grow That's the Angle, like the brand. And I figured it out that if I keep interviewing artists only in DC, like in person, that's my limit. Like that's my blockade. That's a stopping point for me because I want to talk to people with more clout and more leverage and more popularity, not just for selfish reasons, but because people also want to hear from them. But the thing is that like, how am I going to connect with them if they always have to be in my studio and I'm not that big of a podcast, you know? Right. And so now with this, I kind of had like an epiphany. I was like, wait a minute, like this might be the future. Like, and now I can talk to anyone in the world and I can pull up stuff like I did your work, which is something I've always wanted to do. And I can we can talk about it. We can talk about the inspiration. We can like talk about the design. You know, if I had a photographer on, we could talk about a photo. Right. And for me, the difference in this interaction, I mean, don't get me wrong, face-to-face is dope, but I'm looking at your face right now. Like I'm looking at you right now. We could have a drink. We could smoke weed together. We may not feel each other's energy as personally, but for me, it allows me to access more people, but in a way that is just different, but which is kind of weirdly more accepted now. So that's just kind of what I've come to.
Yeah. I mean, I think, cause I think you hit me and was like, yo, do you still want to come do the podcast? And I was like, man, it's too much going on to even like try to like force that or whatever. And I was thinking like, man, we should figure out a way to like Skype it or something. And this is before I even knew about Zoom. Like this is probably, I think this is like my 4th Zoom chat and 2 of them have been this week. So, wow. I think that, yeah, for like somebody like yourself who, people are consuming the content digitally anyways. Like it doesn't, like, you don't have to be face to face. We don't like, I even think that some people may be more, comfortable doing it this way. I don't know.
Well, it's easier because I don't have to go and set up. Because when I block out Wednesdays, that's my podcast day. I just batch it all on Wednesdays. And if I was to go set up, 1, I'm limited to who I can talk to. 2, I got to set up, which takes half the amount of time. And 3, I got to disassemble. And then I have to worry about like, did I forget a cord? Did I forget something? Like, is it going to work? And then I'm kind of in an environment that's tight, but at the same time, if people are going to listen to audio, the environment doesn't really matter. And then on top of that, I can't pull up pictures and stuff and talk about things specifically. And you're right, the concept that you probably feel more comfortable not being in front of like big bright lights and not being in front of a camera. This kind of feels like you're just talking to like a homie in it, but I'm actually recording it.
Right. I mean, it's crazy too, because I was I was having this like, I guess like internal argument. I kind of have these debates where I I think of like I don't like sit down and be like, all right, I'm gonna debate this, but I'll think of something and I'll be like, man, I wonder what this is gonna be like after, like how long is it gonna take to get back to normal? But then I quickly was like, I don't think there's gonna be a back to normal. I think there's gonna be, this is what life was like before COVID-19, and this is what life is gonna be like after. And I think that a lot of things like when Twitter, was it Twitter said today or yesterday? I think it was yesterday that they're going to continue work from home like forever. Like, I mean, I haven't really read the details on what that consists of, but like a lot of these companies are changing the way their business is, or at least like their office is structured because of this pandemic. So
yeah, I agree. It's like life pre-COVID and life post-COVID.
Right. Yeah, it's really crazy. Which luckily, like, we're not really a brand that has to, like, we've never had a office space that everybody came in and worked out of every day, because we've never even all lived in the same city. So obviously we're able to work remotely anyways, but
I think like in a lot of ways. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, I was just going to say we won't really be affected by that side. It's just more of like the actual production. That part is like because they just extended LA's lockdown for like another 3 months, and I don't.
Wow, another 3 months?
Yeah.
Did you see that Elon Musk tweeted that they're going back to work and he doesn't care about the fines?
Yeah, he said something like, I just saw the quote where he was like, if anybody gets arrested, just please let it be me or something. He's just one of those people that like, I don't know. Like you can never, he just says so much crazy stuff sometimes that it's like, I know he just said some stuff a couple of weeks ago about their stock being overpriced or overevaluated, and then the stock plummeted. And so now it's like, all right, is he saying this stuff to like try to win back in the stock market? Like, I don't know. It's just, I think
he's too smart, personally.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those like creative geniuses that I think that it's just like Basquiat or anybody, like nobody's genius is really recognized while they're alive. It takes them to like be gone before which that's like the typical quote, like give people their flowers today or roses today or whatever.
Bro, I've been giving you a flower this whole interview. Jesus, man. I'm trying to let people know about these flowers.
Yeah, I got my flowers. I'm just saying, I think that he's one of those people that kind of gets
misunderstood.
Yeah, like I just think that he doesn't get enough credit for like what he's trying to do. But at the same time, it's like when the stock market is involved, it's hard to know like, all right, is this real or is this for the stocks? Is this for like, I try not to even.
Yeah. If you ask me, I think he was probably trolling by saying that, but I think he also knows by trolling by saying that it'll probably happen. Like,
right.
He's too smart to not think 10 steps ahead. But did you watch his Joe Rogan interview where he talked about the Neuralink shit?
I haven't watched. I know he has two. I haven't watched. I watched part of the first one where he was smoking on there, but I didn't watch the second one.
Dude, so he couldn't talk about it much on the first podcast, but on the second podcast, he talked about Neuralink, and essentially that's solving our bandwidth problem, our interface problem, because our bandwidth problem is we can think as fast as we want, but for us to communicate with technology, we only have 2 thumbs. So that's
right.
that's a limited amount of speed problem. He broke down how NeuroNet is going to work, and basically they carve out like maybe like a quarter-sized chunk of your skull. They implant this Bluetooth chip with neurons that go to specific parts of your brain, and from there, and like this is just the rudimentary. And so it'll start off by being like, you could fix nerve problems. So like half your face doesn't work. They could solve that. Your legs don't work. They could solve that. You have a stutter. They could solve that by triggering certain nerves. But then he was also talking about how when it gets further, it'll affect how you interface with technology. So for instance, like you're designing in Adobe InDesign. Imagine you don't even have to use your hands. You just like think it and it's happening on your screen.
Yeah, that's funny you say that, because I was talking to Tyler, who's one of my partners, and we were talking about a different project that we're working on, but I had this idea, and this is how a lot of our conversations go, where it's like, I'm trying to explain something to him, but I can't, I'm like, I see it in my head, but I can't communicate it verbally.
That's it right there.
So like, if I could literally just, and then a lot of times, even when I can communicate it verbally, a lot of people don't understand what they can't decipher. They can't decipher what my words mean. So yeah, that'll be, I mean, just like I was watching this documentary. Have you heard of Spaceship Earth?
No, what's that?
I don't even know what it is. That's the title of the documentary. It's on Hulu, but it's a documentary about this guy who's like really forward thinking. Like, this is back in like 60s, 70s. And he basically kind of like would host these like kind of workshop things or whatever. And he would gather people who were like-minded forward thinkers or whatever. And he kind of built this like commune of people. And they would have like this ranch where they would just, I mean, it's very 1970s, like hippie kind of cult like ranch, but they would just sit around and like talk about ideas of like how to stop global warming and like,
whoa,
like what happens if we kill this planet, like where can we go before that, like how can we save it, like all of this stuff. And they're like traveling the world doing all of these workshops or whatever, and they end up raising money to start it's called Biosphere. And they basically want to, instead of basically taking a spaceship and going to Mars and figuring out how to like recreate life up there, they want to basically take this spaceship to Earth and figure out how to take all these species and plants and stuff like that and live inside this biosphere. And so they raised, like, they had one of the guys who was like, he was from like one of the top 4 like wealthiest families in the world. He basically funded this project, and they would travel around the world, and they would get like, they literally built this like this spherical structure that they would put like a rainforest in, and like gardens and animals and fish and like wildlife and like all of this stuff. And the people would live in there, and they would have to figure out how to basically how to keep these things alive.
Would they shoot this? Were they going to shoot this into space, or is this
no?
That stay on Earth?
Yeah, it would just stay on Earth. But the thing was to figure out like if they were able to, because it wouldn't, like, say you were building a garden, like you wouldn't have the dirt from the actual Earth's core. This would be dirt that they basically put into this sphere. So they basically picked up things from Earth and transported it into this sphere, and then would try to recreate. Earth. Exactly.
Like
and
a new mini ecosystem.
They called it Biosphere 2 because this was the first time it had come out, Biosphere 2. And they're like, well, where is Biosphere 1? And Biosphere 1 is the Earth. So they were basically recreating Earth in this biosphere. And
what part of Earth did they put in the biosphere? Like, did they put like America, or did they put like California weather? Like, what was the?
I honestly don't know. Like, it was in Arizona, so it was just. I don't know how they controlled the climate actually, but the place is actually still open. It's in Arizona.
Do you remember the movie Biodome?
I remember the name of it, but I don't remember.
Dude, that's literally what you described. Like that movie. It's kind of like a comedy, but that's literally what you described.
It's probably Biodome. Honestly, it's probably because that was in like the 90s, right?
Yeah, it was.
So they probably made it based off of that, because these people, it opened up in like 91 or something. And that was one of the things that the guy who was like the wealthy guy who funded it, he wanted to, that was where he was going to make his money, was from licensing for movies and t-shirts and all of this stuff. So
well, he did it.
Yeah. So it I think it actually failed, and then but it's still open. So I guess it failed, and then they figured it out. But it's like a science museum that you can go to. But you should definitely, like, I don't even remember what we were talking about that made me think of, I guess it was like the Elon Musk forward thinking, like SpaceX type thought that provoked that thought. Well, but I watched it yesterday. It's pretty crazy.
It's interesting because in a lot of ways, you know, I don't want to put myself in the equation, but you are a forward thinker. Like, you're literally thinking ahead of time, like what's going to be cool and what's not. So for you to see another forward thinker, to me, the connection is like, in a way you can relate. So that's why you appreciate that forward thinking.
For sure. I mean, and I just like when people do think outside the box, but like realistically, like some people have a lot of ideas that are outside the box, but they're just like, I don't know. But like when you can explain it and show like how it can work, and that's just like a whole different level of you're not just like throwing out a random idea. Like, you're throwing out an idea with a formula of how it can work. That's a whole different thing. And that's true. Even with this Puma project, before it got pushed back, I'd scrapped a couple of the items because I designed them like early 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And with the idea that they were going to come out in 2020, but by the time they were actually going to come out, to me, they were going to be dated. And so I scrapped those from production, because I'm like,
can I ask what
like
they were?
It was like one was like a crossbody, like passport holder type thing. That when we travel, like I used to have one that I would wear a lot. And whenever you travel, it just makes it so like handy to have everything like on you, like, but in a cool way. But I was just like
messenger bag style,
smaller than that, really just big enough for like maybe a wallet, passport holder, phone, like just like a small, like 8-inch little pouch. But and they weren't executing it the way that they got the pouch right, but the actual like strap mechanism, they didn't get right. But having to like, especially like with comparing us to Puma, like that product that we released Monday, I like figured out what I wanted to release probably like a week or two before it came out. So I'm able to produce that quickly. Whereas
you talk Puma, about the what I showed up on screen, the joggers,
that feel the power and stuff like that, right? So, but that's like with Puma, it's like I could design it today. We won't even see a sample of it for 6 months.
Fuck,
and then
dude.
We'll have like one run at sampling, and then it'll take like another 8 months before production comes in. So it's like 14 months before like you get to see it. So you're not only am I having to think like, all right, is this a cool product, but is this going to be cool in 2 years? Like that's
so why don't you just build the infrastructure so you can make these kind of products yourself? Like, I'm probably asking that because you probably are working on it, but it makes me ask, like, I get working with Puma because it's fucking cool. It's working with Puma, but it seems like creatively it's such like a stopgap to have to wait so long to bring something to market. Like, are you thinking about how you can build your own factory, like your own infrastructure for these sort of things?
I mean, so we have our own factory, but like to have a factory that can produce like hard plastic goods and stuff like that, that's a whole different thing. And anything clothing, in clothing, bags, like stuff like that, I can produce. But also at the same time, it's like the same way they're wanting us to drive energy into this product or this brand. They're driving energy into our brand because they're dumping in the marketing budget for activations and stuff like that. So that's really like the give and the take. We come in, we drive energy to this product. They return the favor by driving energy into marketing behind the brand. So it's but it's also like once I actually do the designing, a lot of the hard work is done on our side. So I can really I can design it 6 months ago and then not really have to like focus on it daily. Whereas if it's our factory and I'm having to make it, like the job's never over because I'm just constantly like, but so like whenever you can design and kind of like pass it off and somebody else can make it, it lets me be more, it lets me increase my output because I can design all day, but designing and producing just is a whole other, that's when I'm like on the verge of cracking. Cause it's like, it's so, it just takes up so much of my brain that it's just like, even now, it's like, even though we're in the pandemic and everybody's locked down and everything, like I'm still designing for my brand, a couple other brands, and like just trying to juggle those, even though I'm still like quarantined at home, it's kind of like hard to juggle. So I've kind of gotten this, I guess, understanding of like.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like you putting that perspective together of like, it's kind of that sacrifice of where but also the give and take of like, you don't have to worry about it because someone else gets to, but then you also get access to more infrastructure or different like sorts of outputs. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense, I guess, from your perspective, because one less thing you got to worry about is one less thing you got to worry about. It's like one of the golden rules that wealthy people always say is like, whatever you don't like doing, whatever you can't do, just hire someone else to do it or just work with someone else to get it done.
Right. For sure. I mean, and that's just like, we've kind of had this phrase that we didn't come up with it, but it's just a phrase that's always like related to us, but it was not putting all of our eggs in one basket. And we've had instances where I've been so loyal to certain vendors or whatever that I'll just send them everything. And if I'm sending them 20 projects, they can only work on so many at one time. They may be able to kind of funnel this piece into this factory and this piece into that one. But if I were to just send them 5 and then send 5 to another place and 5 to another place, like we can obviously like produce at a much faster rate. So that's kind of the same way I think of that. Like if I can design it and send it to like we literally have 3 hat manufacturers. And it's because, I mean, hats are like a big seller of ours, but our place in LA, they can only make so many hats at one time. So what we kind of do is we kind of like stagger production to where I send them designs. And then after I finish those designs, they start production on those. I'm designing others. I send that to another factory so that by the time, and then I start designing again. And so by that time,
parsing it all out.
Yeah, I just keep funneling designs in, and we'll just have hats in production at 3 different places that are continually coming in, opposed to me sending it all to this one. And then by the time they finish those, I have another one, but then I got to wait on them to make that. So it just makes it flow a lot easier. But the hard thing is just like, factories are just like I don't even know what to compare it to, but there's definitely like an out of sight, out of mind stigma where like if you're not in their face, um, they'll tell you that they're working on it, and it may just be sitting in it's like
that's
it's
frustrating as
fly in
hell.
here. And so that was one of the main reasons why, like, before I moved to LA, I was traveling out there like twice a month, like 1 or 2 times a month. And then eventually I was just like, yo, I'm spending $2,000 a month on flying out here and hotels and stuff like that. I could get a place for that price. But then at the same time, like that $2,000 that I was spending, I was really having to kind of like piece together like a cheap flight and a reasonable hotel, or a reasonable
it's like
hotel.
More work.
Right. But if I have the place and all I have to do is worry about a decent flight, it makes it so much easier. Cause I would like find a reasonable flight, but then hotels would be crazy.
Why wouldn't you just have someone on your team who's kind of like the enforcer? Like, why wouldn't you just have someone in LA who's just kind of like that person you trust to go check up on people and be like, get this shit done?
I mean, that's honestly like finding good help is hard to come by. And you might have somebody who's like the best person like that you could think of, but they may not be an enforcer. And I do have somebody out there. I have a couple of people out there. So like right now, since I'm in VA, they're the ones kind of like taking this from this factory to this factory and to the dye house and stuff like that. But even with that, like I have to get on one of the guys a lot because he doesn't have that like he doesn't have that accountability where like if a vendor that we go to for a dye or whatever, like say we take it to the dye house and they say, okay, today's Wednesday, I'm going to have it for you next Wednesday. Mm-hmm. Next Wednesday comes, they go to pick it up and the dye house is like, oh, like we weren't able to get it done. We're going to start tomorrow. We'll have it next Wednesday. And he doesn't have that, that build to where he like, not even lashes out, but explains to them why that's bad business practice.
Like sometimes you just gotta be that dickhead. Like sometimes right. You gotta hold people to what they said they're gonna do.
Exactly. And then if they're not, then you find a different place to send your business. Like don't like fool me once. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Like,
well, you know what this makes me think, Davin? It makes me think like, and I'm speaking from ignorance, of course. Always remember that. Like, at what point do you take what you're doing and make it like more corporate and make it a bigger sort of infrastructure? Like, at what point does that happen? Or is that not even like the goal? Like, at what point do you build like that, like board of chair members, and now you have like a headquarters and all this shit? Like, it kind of seems like that's maybe like a transition that companies have to do at some point, whether you want to or not. It's just something that like has to happen. Like I remember hearing Bobby Hundreds talk about it in his Complex thing. He was talking about how it started off like just him and his homies, but at some point he had to kind of make it corporate, quote unquote, air quotes, in case you're listening. And not because he was like, he didn't want to, but because he kind of felt like he was like, he had to, like he was forced to. Like, do you feel that sort of pressure, or is that like an idea in your head?
Yeah, I mean, it's the partnership that I mentioned earlier that we're kind of like negotiating. That is that. Oh
wow.
That is that kind of like step up in progression. Like where Diet's only 3 years old this month, but I've been in this industry since 2011. Really even before that, but just not super seriously. But so I'm basically 10 years into this world, and it takes, I mean, and also too, like a part of the reasoning is because I know that with the right infrastructure of people that can take my designs and ideas and they can go facilitate, I know that like the output is going to be that much greater. Like right now, it's me designing and me handling the production. And so it's only so much. I've probably like reached my I've probably reached my ceiling of like how much I can physically produce by myself. So, but now, like now that we'll have this infrastructure, like they have a sales team the sales team directly will handle all sales, whether online or wholesale. So they'll sell it to whatever stores worldwide, and they have a huge channel of stores. So, but then they'll also go ahead.
Do you start? And this is just I'm just thinking from your, like, if I was in your shoes, do you start thinking about like protecting your brand at that point? Like, is that a worry in your mind? Like, you start thinking like, damn, like, will my brand go in a direction that I never wanted it to go if I do this? Like,
yeah, I mean,
will it go too mainstream and shit?
That's a huge, I mean, reflecting back to Bobby Hundreds, that's something that, I don't know if you've read his book.
No, I haven't.
But he's got a book called like, This Is Not, I don't know if it's This Is Not a T-shirt or This Is Not a Book. He has like this thing where it's like, it's kind of like whatever it is, like the title is This Is Not That or whatever. But
yeah.
But anyways, he talks about, I don't know if this is when they had investors or what it was, but them going into certain retailers or whatever, and the people, the core audience felt negatively about that decision, because obviously they don't want it in PacSun or Zoomies or whatever, because then it kills the perception of the brand.
Mm-hmm.
And that's obviously always a worry, because I was one of those kids who was buying Hundreds in 2007 or something like that. But I think that the company that I'm talking to, they've expressed that the direction is still going to be my direction. And
I thought the direction there is no direction, Davin.
Yeah, well,
I thought it was.
No, the direction is whatever direction I drive it, but that's also like speculation. Like everybody, before you get into things, everybody's always like telling you what you want to hear.
Of course, they got them sweet lips and they're trying to negotiate that deal.
So we'll see. Like, but I that's the common, like, I won't say it's the common misconception, but like there have been brands that have sold to a PacSun or Zoomies and had like a luxury appearance or appeal like on their site. There's a lot of brands that still do. There's a lot of brands who sell to stores that aren't the most like cool. They're not the coolest stores or whatever, but they may just not advertise that their product is in that store. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely a worry. Like if we partner with these people, are they going to drive the brand into a direction that doesn't match like the initial direction of the brand? So that, yeah, it is a worry, but it's just one of those things. Like I trust them at the moment. They haven't given me any reason not to, but sometimes if they don't give you any reason until they give you a reason, and then it's too late. So, but I think that they have a good understanding of like what story we're trying to tell. And I think that they know that like they've been doing this for a long time, and they're like a really successful company. So if they want longevity, then they have to do it the right way. But at the same time, like I don't always, even though it may be what I want to do, like I expressed earlier, like I don't always do what's best for the company, because I don't always know. I feel like I have an idea and I make a decision based on what I feel, but that's not always like the right decision or whatever. So these last 10 years have really been me making all the decisions kind of either by myself or with the help of partners. But now it's going to be like making the decision with people who've gone through these situations and they have experience in it. So I don't know. I'm excited.
If there's one thing I've learned from the amount of shit that I watch, especially all the Steve Jobs movies I've watched, it's like at the end of the day, it's your brand, it's your company, and it's like what you say goes. And like, for instance, in like the Steve Jobs movies, am I breaking up? Am I breaking up right now? Because I feel like
No,
I
you're
can
good
hear
on my side.
Okay. Yeah. In like the Steve Jobs movies, it's like he would do things that no one else agreed with, but he was so adamant and so stern about doing that even if he was wrong, it still kind of worked out because it was like his say. So it's like, if there's one thing I've learned, it's that when you're, and I think about this for myself too, it's like when you're the center of that thing, you almost like can't think about what other people think in a way. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that was something that John Geiger, he like really, he kind of like gave me that, that idea of like, not like, don't like, he's kind of like the true definition of I'm going to do what I want and not care about what other people think. And he may do something that 10 people disagree with, but to those 10 people that disagree with it, there's 4,000 that agree with it. And it's kind of like that saying, like, the boos always come from the cheap seat, or the nosebleeds, or like whatever. The boos, ignore the boos, they come from the cheap seats.
Facts.
I haven't adopted that principle as well as he has, but he's definitely kind of, I mean, because we had some instances that we probably went through on your last podcast where we were faced with some challenges where we had to really, like, if we had focused on what everybody else was saying or whatever, like we wouldn't be here where we are. So, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely true. Like, no matter who Apple brought in to try to replace Steve Jobs or whatever, like it was his direction and it was his company. So kind of like you said, like what he said went. So, but like I said, like I've always been kind of like the one that had to like put the decision on my back. And so it'll be good to like just have like some partners who've had experience in this world, and they know, like, all right, like the way you want to do it probably isn't going to work. Like, we'll either do it, and if it doesn't work, we'll adjust it, or you can take our advice now and avoid a $50,000 loss or whatever. So, but I'm just kind of like looking forward to, but the main thing is like looking forward to being able to just have ideas, put them down on paper, and send it off to be executed. Whereas like right now,
that sounds so sick.
Yeah, I mean, right now, like I can do that, but it's just like with the luggage, like I think I would have had to have made like 1,000 suitcases or something like that, and each suitcase was, let's just say, $60 or whatever. So $60,000. Where like I can't just take $60,000 and go risk it on 1,000 suitcases when I may sell 100 suitcases. Like, it's not true. It's not that smart of an investment. So they're going to be there to tell me like we have the data that proves we can sell this product and this many of them. Let's put that money into that.
That's tight.
So I have way more ideas than I can physically execute. So like being able to just try to get all of those out.
I feel you on that, man. Sometimes I wish I could shut the shit off.
Yeah, same. But I don't know. I think that's one of the refreshing things about diet too, is that we've set up like a foundation that doesn't like box us into one type of product. Where you see like some brands who come out and they'll release a bike or jewelry or whatever, and it may or may not do that well. Like people may only want this one item from them, but like with us, we kind of came out the gate with skateboards and jewelry and candles and like and all of this stuff that really shows you like we're not just a t-shirt brand, like we're a brand that offers more. So
it makes me think of Chinatown Market, how they operate. Like you can't really pin them onto something.
Yeah, they do. I mean, they do a ton of things. I mean, they're one of the brands that we kind of pay attention to, like just to get an idea of like how their audience reacts to certain products and them pleasures, which we're a higher priced brand than both of those two, but those two brands are like two of the brand, them Rocket, those brands are like brands that are really killing it online and in a retail space. So we're kind of like just looking at those brands like, all right, like they're able to do this. Like we're kind of in a similar ecosystem as far as like lower, even though like you said, our t-shirts are $70, like that's still a pretty expensive t-shirt to most people, but we're still lumped in this kind of like affordable fashion lane. So we definitely pay attention to see like what moves other brands are making, even though we may or may not agree with the move they made or whatever. Obviously you have to.
Yeah, it's still sick that you could look at Chinatown Market and be like, oh, they dropped the basketball. Let's see how people responded. They dropped like a set of trading cards. Like, let's see like how that stuff looks. Like, and so a lot of ways, like you kind of learn just by looking at them. Yeah, I feel that. That's cool. I mean, that sounds pretty dope to me. We're kind of coming on 2 hours, but I want to switch gears real quick because there's something I noticed since last time we talked. You've gotten a lot more into fitness.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess it has been since I was into it when I did the podcast. I just wasn't as, I guess I wasn't as focused then, but at the same time, like, I'm trying to think, was I already living in LA when I did the podcast?
I don't think you were.
Once I moved to LA, I was working out. I mean, really, that was just this last summer.
Is it all the beautiful superficial people that made you want to just get your swole on?
No, I actually think it was right before I moved. I was working out a lot, and I finally was just like starting to understand like what affected my body, and like I was just really starting to understand like how my body worked. And once that like kind of kicked into gear, that's when I got more serious about it. And then I guess at the beginning of like 2019 is when I really got a lot more serious about it. Like even when I would like travel, I was working out every day in the hotel or whatever, because I don't know, weight is just one of those things. Like you're probably one of the people who wants to put on weight. I'm like the opposite. I'm the one of the people who wants to get rid of weight. So like to me, putting on weight is super easy. Losing it is the hard part. To you, losing it is probably super easy. Putting it on is as hard as it is for me to take it off. So
I mean, we got different frames. You're like a big dude. You're like 6 something, dude. Like you're like, I mean, you're a pretty beefy dude. Like, so it's like you have like the natural structure to like be jacked. Me, I had the natural structure to be a scrawny little shit. So it's like I've always been like dealing with a complex of I want to get bigger. I want to put on weight. And it's so funny to hear that you're just I want to get skinnier.
Well, and that's the tough part too, is like everybody that I work out with is the opposite John is like the same as me. John's like 6'4", and he's just like a he's like the same stature as me. Where he's one of the only ones that can kind of relate in my circle, but everybody else is like they're like 160, wanting to get up to 180, but if they stop working out or eating for a couple of days, they go down to like 150. I'm like,
Jesus.
I could stop eating for a week and I still wouldn't drop any weight unless I like put in the work. But
I mean, dude, that's what's been killing me for this quarantine is not being able to go lift weights. I have been dying, dude.
Yeah. I luckily for me, like right when I got, because I was I'm pretty serious about staying at it. So like my routine, no matter where I'm at, is to, I mean, in LA especially, like I get up, I walk to the gym, I stretch for a little bit, work out for like 45 minutes to an hour, hit the sauna for like 20 minutes,
Ooh,
shower, and then walk home. So by the time I'm home, I'm already like, because I have an Apple Watch, so like I'm already like 1,200 calories down by like 9-10 a.m. And so whenever I flew back here, at first the gyms were still like open for like a day or two.
Yeah.
And then it was like they just cut it off. And so as soon as they cut all the gyms off, I went online and ordered like a couple dumbbells, some resistance bands.
Oh, you did it at the right time. I missed that boat so hard, dude. I remember walking up to the gym and I was like, no, let me in. Shit, how am I going to get these fucking biceps?
Well, and that was, because I had this goal for March and April where I was going to work out every day for those 2 months. Wow. And
it's hardcore.
Yeah. And so like, as soon as I got here, luckily I already had like some bands, so I could do like banded workouts for like the first couple of days until my stuff came in. But I wish I had ordered more, especially knowing that this stuff is getting extended even longer. But now it's like, now stuff is so back ordered because everybody went haywire that I don't even know like if you can even find anything at this point. But I ended up getting like a little bench, a couple sets of dumbbells. I had like some bigger dumbbells ordered, but they ended up never making it here. And then I got like a pull-up, like tower power thing where I can do like pull-ups and chin-ups and stuff. So I've got enough to like hit my goal of like 850 calories a day is like my workout goal of like what I got to hit. So, but yeah, I think that it was really, like I said, it wasn't really being, a lot of people thought like, oh, you moved to LA, now you want to work out all the time. It was really just like that perfect time to where I was understanding my body. But then I really just started posting it more. That was the main thing. Is like, I was always working out. I just wasn't posting it. And then a guy.
Did it really happen if you didn't post it?
Right. And a guy hit me. I was on vacation last summer and a trainer in LA reached out to me and he was like, hey, I've been following you. Like, I'm a fan of the brand or whatever. Like, whenever you get back from Cabo or whatever, come by my gym and I'll give you like a couple of sessions free.
Dude,
and
nice.
So I never worked out with the trainer and I went and worked out with him once and I had burned like twice the amount of calories in that workout than when I would normally work out by myself. And so he gave me like a couple more sessions free. And then eventually I'm like, all right, like I can't go back to the gym with these 300, 400 calorie workouts. Like, I need to stay working out with you so I can get these 800, 900 calorie workouts.
Damn.
And I kept working out with him and just, he really taught me, like, you know, a lot of people will go in and they'll have like chest day or arm day or arms and back or like whatever, but
Yeah.
his is like full body workouts every day. So you may do chest every day, but it may only be like one exercise or whatever. And he really
Oh
taught
wow.
me a way that kept it like entertaining. And then to the point where we've actually like talked about, like we did like a couple workout classes together where we did like a Diet Starts Monday workout class in LA.
Oh, I think I saw that. I remember. I think
Yeah,
I slightly remember seeing that.
where I did like some product for it and invited like 15 people, kind of like 15 influencer type people in LA, and they would come out for this workout, which is basically like a group version of his training. So he would lead the class and we would have product. And it's something that we're trying to grow into something a little bit bigger, but obviously since this virus in the world is kind of shut down, like we haven't been able to focus on it. But yeah, that's the main thing is
God damn, dude, you can't even work out without starting a new project. Jesus.
well, I'm just like, I always see like, I almost always find an opportunity in something. And so I'm like, man, this is, because I'll post it. I'm like, man, this is dope. I'll post it and then I would see the reaction like, oh man, this is crazy. Like I would love to come to this. And then after like a couple, and then people are hitting me like, yo, how can I get an invite to this or whatever? And I'm like, man, maybe there's something here, because like for somebody like me who's never worked out with a trainer or whatever, like for somebody like me to be impressed by it, I'm sure that there's a ton of other people just like me who would love this. So, but
exercise, but make it fashion.
But Diet Starts Monday is just like the perfect. It's like the perfect brand to umbrella that. Like,
oh yeah, it kind of is, isn't it?
Yeah.
So now that I think about it,
it's just like we really got like a good.
Bro, I don't care what products you make for your exercise line, just make sure there's zippers on the pockets, because there's nothing worse than when you're trying to do some bench presses and your phone falls out of your pocket. That is the worst, dude.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the other thing too, is like there's not a ton of fashion, or there's not a ton of like fitness lines that like fitness but make it fashion. There's not a ton of those. So there was like,
do you think Gymshark's kind of fashionable, or you think it's just kind of like gym shit?
I think that the people that wear that are gym people who buy it. But I think that like Diet Starts Monday would be like fashion people that buy that to work out, opposed to fitness people that buy it to kind of be fashion. Like I think it's different when it's like, when there's like a fitness brand that does fashion, it's like, it's just fitness clothing. But when there's like a fashion brand that does fitness clothing,
I see what you're saying.
It's different. It's almost like if Rick Owens did fashion clothing, it's different than if Gymshark did Rick Owens clothing. Then it's like, yo, like you cross the line here.
Yeah, because Gymshark's thinking from like different shit. Gymshark's thinking like, how can I make sure her ass cheeks don't sweat through the pants? Or like they're thinking like, how do I make your balls breathe better? They're not thinking like, how do I make your balls breathe better and look hella tight? You know what I'm saying?
Well, and my whole thing too is like, I would go to the gym and like, I don't really want to be in like a tight fitted like workout shirt. Like I still want to look like I'll look walking on the street. I'm just in the gym working out, but in clothes that are still like performance clothes. So I just
shoot. I ain't working out no $70 shirt. You got me messed up.
No. But I mean, and everything would obviously be like tailored to fit the market. Like there's a couple like running brands that do it where from like a fashionable stance, but I haven't seen too many like fashion brands do workout clothing. We did some in 2018 when we collabed with 5'4" and Grand AC. We had a couple like workout shorts and jackets that we did with them. But I think that was really like the start of it. Was like, you know, we could do fashion, I mean, we could do fitness stuff, but make it from a fashion standpoint. And I think that there's a market for it, because every time I post anything fitness related, like I get a really good response. But I think that a lot of people are just really, really in tune with like self betterment. I don't know about right now. Like now the gyms and stuff are closed. Like a lot of people have been hitting me like, man, I haven't been able to work out and this and that. But I think when stuff opens back up, I think people are going to be trying to get in shape as fast as possible, because they've missed those pre-summer gym months.
I mean, I already know I'm not getting those gains back, but if there's one thing I've been doing is like, I've become a runner. Like after this conversation, I'm going to go for a run. Like I've just become a cardio dude. Like I went from avoiding cardio at all costs to now doing mostly cardio, and it's kind of tight. It's kind of meditative for me. I like it.
Yeah. I don't really do, I was doing like cardio like a year or two ago, like a lot. But running was just too bad on my knees. And so that's just old man knees, I guess. But
Word. Well, hey, Davin, we're coming up on 2 hours. I say we put a nail in this coffin right here.
Sounds good. I got to get some lunch.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I got to... actually, I don't really have anything that pressing, but 2 hours is a good amount of time frame, because we both know that we could talk for way too fucking long.
For sure.
We talked for like 3 hours and a whole camera battery changed the first time. So, but dude, man, I really appreciate you having you on again, man. I feel like I always enjoy talking to you, especially now that we've already talked before. It's like so much more comfortable, and I love this setup.
Yeah, for sure. I was glad to do it. As soon as you hit me, I'm like, works for me. Like I've been sitting in the house, like not talking to hardly anybody for 2-3 months. So, and the fact that like I am a homebody, like I didn't have to get in the car and drive to Maryland to do this like that. I just had to like get the computer and come upstairs. So I was, but I'm obviously I'm always glad to like get on and talk about like what we have going on and stuff like that. So definitely thank you for extending the invite again.
Always, dude. You're always welcome on, man. You got if you just hit me up like Bruce, I'm coming on. I'm like, all right, let's do it, baby.
For sure.
No worries. All right, guys. Well, that's it. Please check out Davin in Diet Starts Monday. Hopefully you could cop a shirt or anything he puts out there. I didn't even bring it up, but I did want to talk about those pill candles, but we'll save that for another time. Those are so sick. But anyways, guys, that's it. That's the angle. Peace out.